was hoping my son David would stay up a little later because I wanted to ask him a couple of questions that are pertinent to our discussion. Well, he's 8 years old, as he likes to remind me. He's 8 years old, and his life right now revolves around wanting a YouTube channel and then collecting little Transformers with his dad. Okay, so he's 8. At the last part of the poem that we just read, the lynching, the little lads, lynchers that were to be danced around the dreadful thing in fiendish glee. Okay, families would all go watch lynchings. Okay, so if you are to Google lynching postcards, which were a thing, okay, these postcards were printed. You could buy them in a corner store. You can trade them with your friends. Okay, yeah, it was incredibly grotesque. Children, when the photographs were taken of the lynchings, there were children watching them. Okay, so kids as young as my son would go out and watch an African American, in this case, being lynched and burned alive. They would see that. Okay, I'm afraid to let them watch Alien vs. Predator, and parents would allow them to see these lynchings. So you could see that the cycle of hate was there. And from what friends have told me, the cycle of hate, unfortunately, is still there. But can you imagine these little kids sort of looking up at a victim, at a lynching victim? And you all can Google this. Okay, I did not Google this for you all, but there is a postcard. I remember my professor showing it to us, there's a little girl framed, 8, 9 years old, and she is just smiling. You think this little girl was in Disneyland, and when your eyes look at what she's looking at, she's looking at the body of someone who's been lynched and is still hanging from a tree. So these are very disturbing sights. But Claude McKay wants us to see these sights. And he's saying, no, we need to look at lynching. We need to see what they're like. So maybe we could do something about it. Okay, so let's go back to the poem. His spirit is smoke ascended to heaven, his father by cruelest way of pain. Okay, so right there, right off the bat, his spirit is smoke ascended to heaven. Okay, so that he was burned. His father was by the cruelest way of pain had bitten him to his bosom once again. The awful sin still remained unforgiven. Okay, all night a bright and solitary star. Okay, perchance the one that ever guided him, yet gave him up to his last. They gave him up at last to fate's wild wind, hung pitifully over the swinging char. Okay, so that beautiful star, right? The star that we look up, that we see, that we admire, was hanging over this guy's body that was swinging from a tree. My gosh, that scene, it's a revolting scene that terrifies us, right? That horrifies us. But yet this happened time and time again, and people did have the photographs. Okay, like I said, these photographs are still available. They would buy postcards and send them off. Okay, hey, wish you were here. I mean, these horrible events, but people would still go to them. Day dawned, and soon the mixed crowds came to view the ghastly body swaying in the sun. His body wasn't even removed. Okay, it reminds me. Okay, I'm not gonna spoil this movie from you, but there's a film where something similar happens. Why do you all think that the bodies were kept up in trees? Okay, why not? Oh, they had their fun. They killed this poor guy, cut him down. Why were they kept up there? Okay, why is it that the day dawned and the mixed crowds came to view the ghastly body swaying in the sun? The women thronged to look, but never a one showed sorrow in her eyes of steely blue. That's what happens, right? When people are othered, when they're called vermin, when they are just completely put down, when they are dehumanized, this is able to happen. These women can see that and have amusement. Little children, this kid right here who wants to, always watch superhero movies. Okay, that same love toward violence. Okay, that's what happens. Okay, when people are othered, when they are dehumanized, very easy. Okay, very, very easy for this to happen. Okay, and it is still happening now. We don't learn our lessons, do we? And this isn't, like I said, something that just happens here in the States. I was just, as I told you in the last lecture, watching a breakdown of a of a Japanese film. Okay, what did the Japanese do? Dehumanize the Chinese. Okay, so this happens constantly. The Jews have been dehumanized time and time again, right? The Nazis did it. The Soviets did it as well. The Poles have done it. Okay, this is just something that repeats itself. But Claude McKay is saying, look at this. Look at what's happening. Face up to it. This isn't just like a postcard that you can say it away. This happens right here. Okay, and the reason why the body was left up there was, number one, for entertainment. As horrible as that sounds, and it kills me to say that it's entertaining. It was entertainment. And number two, so others could look at that and say, oh, that's our warning. We can't do anything. We have to be quiet because that's our warning. Because that could be us. Right? This poem is so powerful, and it is, like I said, it's deceptively simple, but that's right there. Okay, Claude is like, look, listen to this. Listen to what's happening. Okay. If we look at the other poem that I want to tell you about, If We Must Die. Okay, Claude McKay. Okay, people read. I actually had you all reading the lynching first for a reason, because If We Must Die is suddenly like, oh, it's resisting, it's dying on a field and going out and fighting. And why are they fighting? Well, they're fighting because men and women are being lynched. Okay, this is what they're fighting for. So let's look at 2161. If we must die. If we must die, let it not be like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock of our accursed lot. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. O kinsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal one death blow. What though before us lies the open grave? Like men we'll face the murderous, cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying but fighting back. This is written in the sonnet, in a style of a Shakespearean sonnet. Okay, if you look at the rhyme scheme, it's A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. Okay, this is the style of a sonnet. And what are sonnets famous for? Okay, if I tell you all that we're going to be reading Shakespearean sonnets, most of you will think we're going to be reading about love, right? Petrarchan sonnets, the same thing. They're all about love and happiness and affection. And all Shakespeare ones are not about that, okay? Some of them are about something else. But here he takes this sonnet. He takes the sonnet and says, no, we're going to do something else. We're going to talk about rising and dying. Okay, and Claude McKay isn't saying we're just going to sort of settle back, right? We're not going to go gently into that good night. No, he's saying we're going to fight, right? If we must die, let us not be like hogs hunted and penned into an inglorious spot. Okay, while around us the mad and hungry dogs may mark. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Okay. This is a call to action. This is what Malcolm X would read later on and say, yes, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is what Martin Luther King Jr. would say. Okay, well, we could work with it, right? This is much more of a Malcolm X poem. But what is he telling them? Okay, is he trying to write beautiful sonnets about love? He's saying, okay, let's love ourselves, okay, and let's not die on our knees. Let's not die on the floor. Let's go out and let's fight so that the monsters that defy us. So that the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. Okay. So not only does he want them to go out and fight and maybe die, but die so that the people who kill you are going to honor you. That's a big deal there. right? And it's the language that he uses. Oh, kinsman, oh, let us nobly die. Okay, this is very, sounds like very Shakespearean, right? Very beautiful, very flowery. Oh, kinsman, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal one death blow. Okay, this is written in very much like a poem, right? It sounds almost very beautiful, and then you're like, wait a minute, he's talking about us dying and killing, right? Okay. Okay, this is the call to action, and I used to teach this before I taught the lynching, and the lynching just didn't sound. It didn't quite gel, but I like teaching the lynching first, okay, because people will ask, well, why were there riots and why were there so many demonstrations or whatever? Because lynching happened. Okay. Because Claude McKay is not living in a world of pink and blue clouds. Oh crap. Pink and blue clouds thinking that life is perfect. He's like, no. Lynchings happen. Okay. Let's look at 2163. Okay. This is about America, right? Give me 1 second, y'all. I need to check something really fast. Okay, about America. Alright, America. Although she feeds me bread of bitterness and sinks into my throat her tiger's tooth, stealing my breath of life, I will confess I love this cultured hell that tests my youth. I'm not going to read this entirely, so we're going to go stanza by stanza, okay? Because this is a pretty packed poem. Although who is she? America. Although America feeds me bread of bitterness and sinks into my throat her tiger's tooth, stealing my breath of life. Okay, so America doesn't always treat people like Claude McKay well, right? Okay, America feeds him the bread of bitterness and sinks the tiger tooth into the throat, right? America isn't perfect. America has pain. America has violence. Okay, we have death, lynching. I will confess, I love this cultured hell that tests my youth. He says, you know what, despite everything that America has done to him and has done to his people and has done to others, he still loves America. Why? Because I've told you all time and time again, you can love something and you can still criticize it. There is no either or. Okay? Her vigor flows like tides into my blood, giving me strength to erect against her hate. Right? Her vigor flows, right? That's sort of very Langston Hewish, right? The river flows. Her vigor flows, right? Okay, again, you can critique it. Okay, her vigor flows like tides into my blood, giving me strength erect against her hate. So the strength that America is giving him strength to fight against her hate. You see that? You see the paradoxical? This is very beautiful, right? You can love something, you can critique it, you can gain strength from that thing from America, but yet still fight. Okay, it's this beautiful paradox that he has. Her bigness sweeps my being like a flood. Her bigness sweeps my being like a flood. Okay, America's huge. Okay, and I think he's not only talking about like the America, of course, yes, America is big, but also the people of America. Okay, a lot of you, I'll ask a lot of my European friends what they think about Americans, and I get different points of views and different opinions, but one that comes up is, and this is going to sound very odd, it's friendliness. Americans are the loudest, friendliest people you'll ever meet. Okay. There's a funny story about that. And like I said, I think bigness is the variety of America, okay? The bigness sweeps me like a flood, right? My husband and I went to England for a study trip on our honeymoon, and we were at the Hard Rock Cafe in London, because all Americans have to go to all the Hard Rocks, okay? We were there buying just random stuff. We were paying, and the girl, the cashier just, looked at us and said, hi. And I said, hi, how are you? Okay, so she stops and she looks at me and she's like, why? Okay, I know my husband wasn't too happy about that, but I said, oh, just asking, it's cool. It's diffuse the situation. It's not a big deal. And she's charging our purchases. And then she stops and she's like, I'm fine. how are you? And I just like say something like, oh yeah, just totally jet lagged right now, I'm really tired. And she says, so where are you from? I said, I'm from Texas. And she's like, oh, howdy, you're from Texas. You get that a lot, okay? But I do hear that. I hear that Americans are very friendly. We're very open, okay? And I see that a lot as well, okay? And that's what reminds me when he says, her bigness sweeps me like a flood. Not all floods happen to be bad, okay? Some say you have a flood of good fortune. Yeah, that's good too, right? Okay. Yet, as a rebel, fronts a king and state, I stand within her walls with not a shred of terror, malice, not a word of jeer. Okay, he's like, you know what? He's not going to be afraid. He's not afraid of America. He's not afraid of the worst of America. He's going to face the worst of America. He's like, I'm not afraid, but I'm also not going to hate. I'm not afraid. Darkly, I gaze into the days ahead and see her might and granite wonders there, beneath the touch of time's unerring hand, like priceless treasures sinking in the sand. Okay. I am not going to tell you what that means, because so far he's been saying, America has treated me badly sometimes, but I still love America. Okay, he's been sort of going back and forth, this paradoxical idea that yes, you can love something, but at the same time you can critique it. Okay, you can. Right. But at the end, let's look at that stanza. Darkly. Darkly I gaze into the days ahead, and I see her might and granite wonders there beneath the touch of time's unerring hand, like priceless treasures sinking in the sand. Okay, so that can go two completely different ways, right? We can say that all of her wonders are sinking in the sand. It's very pessimistic, right? What happens to America? Why is America destroyed? But then he can also say, well, all of the might and granite wonders have gone away, but we're still here because we're living in freedom, away from granite and might. So what is it? Is it sinking in the sand destruction? Or is it changed to something better? Okay, y'all can see how it could be either or. I won't tell you what it is because that's your job. But my job is I will tell you that this one remember, okay, my field is British literature, okay? That this one line right here, right, her might and granite wonders, okay, sinking in the sand, reminded me of another very, very famous poem that you all might have heard about. And I already see some of you all saying, I know the poem, I know the poem. All right, but since we're not having, I don't have you all in front of me, the poem is called Ozymandias, and it's by Percy Shelley, okay, romantic poet, a husband to Mary Shelley. Okay, those of you all who are fans of Breaking Bad, you'll know that one of the very famous episodes is called Ozymandias. Okay, so I'm going to read this aloud to you all. It'll be online, okay, so don't worry, I'll put it up for you all. Okay, Ozymandias goes like this. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk a shattered visage lies, whose frowned and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on that pedestal, these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, you mighty and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sand stretched far away. So what Percy Shelley is saying here is he's saying, look, whatever empire you have, okay, any great empire is gonna fall. Okay, and I love this idea, right, of this huge, this huge statue like the Colossus of Rhodes that was standing there, but the only thing that's left are the 2 legs, and then half of his face is in the sand. Okay, so that's one way of putting it. Okay, is Claude McKay saying, hey, remember Ozymandias? Okay, because Claude McKay would have known Percy Shelley. Okay, remember what happens? They're sinking and the lone level stands. Okay, remember that? Maybe that'll happen here. Or maybe something better will happen. Okay, we don't quite know. I want you all to figure that out on your own. Because that's your job. My job is just to lay it out there. I will post up Ozymandias. Okay, it's a great poem. Definitely will post that up. But for now, since we're done with this, I want you all to see something. What time do I have?
8.
Okay. First thing I want you to do right here. Let me know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is two minutes, and we're probably gonna go longer. Okay. Dr. Maya Angelou. Y'all, Dr. Maya Angelou, I cried when she died. I could not. I was so sad. She was a national treasure. Her books are inspiring. Her poems are amazing. I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to this, and then we'll talk about this right now. Make sure that's up. No.
Are you a hard teacher?
Mm-hmm. I'm tough.
Yeah.
I'm tough. I'm loving. And I'm tough. I expect, I work very hard. And I want young men and women to know you have to work very hard. With Richard Pryor and Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, a number of the men, especially men, but the women too, they have come here to my home in North Carolina to talk to me and to ask me how do I feel about this or that. And they are all my children. I accept that they're my children. I accept that you are. You see, it's important for me to understand that. Then I must tell you the truth as I understand it. Because you may be the last person I'll speak to. Life is life and death is death. And so I must be telling the truth when I speak.
You did that with Tupac when Tupac was a bit out of his in his own space on Poetic Justice. You pulled him aside and you instructed him.
Yeah.
What was he like?
I didn't know who he was, I knew that he was into a big row with another young man. And so I said to him, may I speak to you? And he was cursing. Ooh, I wouldn't give him. I said, I understand that, but let me speak to you. If they love, I said, I got you. However, let me speak to you. And finally, I said, when was the last time anyone told you how important you are? Did you know our people stood on auction blocks, were sold, bought and sold? Did you know, so that you could stay alive today? And finally, he heard me and stopped talking and started to weep. And I put my arms around him and I walked him back into the arena and he cried. And I went back to my trailer and Janet Jackson came running in. She said, Dr. Angelou, I don't believe you actually spoke to Tupac Shakur. So I said, darling, I don't know six-pack. I never heard of it. But I mean, that wasn't in my world.
All right. So I love that interview. Okay, I love Dr. Angelou. She is, as I said, incredibly famous writer. She is one of the eminent, if not the eminent, African-American poet of our time. I would argue she is. She is what I think of when I read Langston Hughes. When I read the Linger on the Racial Mountain. Because he says, go out, get it, make it new, do what you need to do, keep your culture. That's exactly what she did. Okay. She wrote about what she knew. And yes, one of her biographies has an incredibly violent rape scene as a child. Okay, she wrote it because she said it happened to me. She's very, very blunt about that. I like what she told Tupac. Okay, when she said, do you remember that our people stood on auction blocks for you to live? Okay, how special was he? Okay, was he as a person? And I really, really liked that because she reminded him, okay, this is what we've been through. Okay, Okay, our people were brought over in ships. Many of them didn't make it. How many people had to make it for Tupac to be alive, or for Maya Angelou to be alive? How many people had to make it? Okay, and I loved that because I felt that was something that Langston Hughes would have said, you know what, that's pretty cool that you did that. That's wonderful, and that's from what I know, what I've heard when people met her. That's what she was like. She was incredibly famous even before she was chosen to read the poem at the inauguration of Bill Clinton in 1992. Yeah, 1992. He won the election in 92. It was the inauguration was in 1993. She wrote and recited the poem on the pulse of morning. Okay, she was already a very well-known writer and poet, but she did this, and let me tell you all what she did. Okay, this little poem. Okay, this is what happened. Angelou's recitation of On the Pulse of Morning resulted in more fame and recognition for her previous works and broadened her appeal across racial, economic, and educational boundaries. Okay, Langston Hughes would have loved that. The week after her recitation, sales of the paperback versions of her books and poetry rose by 300 to 600%. Bantam Books had to reprint 400,000 copies of all her books to keep up with the demand. Random House, which published Angelou's hardcover books and published the poem later that year, reported that they sold more of her books in January of 1993 than all of 1992, accounting for a 1,200% increase. The 16-page publication of the poem became a bestseller, and the recording of the poem was awarded a Grammy Award. So not bad for a poet, for an African-American poet, right? Langston Hughes would have loved this. He would have said, this is exactly what we were aiming to do. Okay, so the fact that we had Dr. Angelou, we had Dr. Morrison, and we had Alice Walker, says a lot, that a lot has been done and a lot has been conquered. Okay, I'm going to put up another poem right now. I don't think I'm going to have enough time. How much time? Oh no, we're not going to have enough time. We're going to go to another video, and there's one more poem I want to show you.